Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming here today. Obviously, a few days have passed here now since the series, so having more time to think about it. Really, I still sit here today feeling similar to how I felt after the loss, disappointed in the results, but had tremendous belief in our group and continue to have tremendous belief in our group and the effort that they gave us. In particular, I felt that we really stepped up and leaned in key moments and pushed, and we're not afraid of losing. We were aggressive in our approach, and the mindset of our team that we built through the regular season that came out through the playoffs against a very tough opponent. Obviously, we did not get the results that we want, and that stings, mostly because of the belief we had in the group and what we had accomplished together. Believe that progress was made, even though it's hard to feel that way. Obviously, when we're here again talking at the end of the first round. But the positive steps that we made as a team we feel good about, and the work towards next season has already begun. I've now finished the first round of player exit meetings, and there'll be more to come this afternoon, but the work has begun, and the belief in our group is as strong as it's ever been, and we're looking forward to what's ahead.
Thanks, Coach. Go ahead.
Hi, I'll start. Coach, thanks for your time. I have to ask about the Marner incident, only because many people are asking in the city how he's doing. So I get the privacy and the sensitivity around what happened with him, but can you just describe, sir, what your reaction was when you heard that news, and just generally how is he doing?
Obviously, the first reaction was general shock, and then concern for Mitch. But he isn't here today, and had a meeting with him, which was a little bit different tone than some of the others for obvious reasons. But he seems to be doing well, all things considered, and now we're just most concerned about taking care of him and allowing him opportunity to get through this.
Luke?
Hi, Sheldon. When you reflect on the series, is there anything you think you could have done differently from a coach's perspective to, change that difference? It was a matter of inches.
Well, whether it's before, during, or after games, there's hundreds of decisions that are made for every game. And too soon at this point for me to have dissected all of those. Not that I will spend a lot of time going through all of them, but over the course of the offseason, we'll look at those kind of things. At the end of the day, what I really felt good about with our group is through decisions that were made, whether they're tactical or whether they're personnel related, I thought the group responded really well, not just in the playoffs, but even down the stretches. We were trying different things and looking to prepare ourselves for what was to come, which we knew no matter who the opponent was going to be, it would be a challenge, and we would have to be flexible in our approach. And I thought through any of the decisions that, whether it was myself or any of the other coaches made, the players embraced it and did all that they could to go out and execute.
Terry?
Hey, Sheldon, where does the roster need the most improvement after you had the season you had, and then we're so close to beating the two-time defending Cup champs? Where do you see in the holes, if you will, if you want to look at it that way?
Yeah, I mean, I'll leave those questions or certainly those answers to Kyle to go through, and that's his department. My job is to have the team as prepared as possible to play. I really believed in this group and felt that we had everything that we needed to succeed. Like I said, we're left here, now talking about the fact that we weren't able to get it done and falling just short. But when I look at different elements that we had throughout the playoffs and throughout the series to handle whatever was coming our way and the way the group came together, I was really happy with how they handled themselves and how they performed. Now the challenge for us collectively is to bring it to the next level, the required level, which, as I've said, I don't feel is as far away as it may appear. But it still obviously was not good enough. So, my focus is right now on the players that we know are returning, and we'll build it out from there.
Maybe just a follow-up to that, Sheldon. When it is as tight as it was against Tampa, and really capitalizing on mistakes put the series in their favor, where do you see the growth then? How can the team overcome those sorts of things a year from now, potentially?
Well, like I'm saying, it's such a fine line between winning and losing, right? It's one shot here, one save there, which ultimately is sort of the way that our series went, certainly down, through games 5, 6, and 7. So the challenge as a coach is to reflect on the series and dissect the series, dissect the season, not overreact one way or another over the result necessarily. I think there's a lot of details inside of every game that will be our focus, and trying to be as good as possible. I mean, when we have going up against the back-to-back champions, you can see details inside their game that that they can execute at a very consistent level, and that a lot of ways, a lot of times, is what makes the difference.
Kevin?
Sheldon, we all kind of presume you'll be back more or less with the same roster. What will be different next year that gives you reason to think that you can take it to the next level?
Well, again, I really believed in a lot of things that we did this season, and a lot of the areas that we were looking to grow in, believe we grew. Individually, we look at players that a year ago, didn't play to their capabilities or to their expectations. We believe played well, and whether it's through production or through energy and competitiveness and drive, that we were right there. So there was a tremendous growth in a lot of areas of our game, and we'll continue to refine our team game and continue to work with our individuals on getting better, while at the same time feeling good about the fact that we've built an even stronger foundation now. And it's tough coming through these things, because the ultimate progress you're looking for is to continue to be playing beyond the first round. Yet, we'll look at the 89 games that we played, and the first 82 gave us a good chance going into the series, obviously with home ice advantage and knowing we're playing against a challenging opponent. And I look at how we started the series. We came out and asserted ourselves, how we responded each time when we lost a game. Just so many different things that I felt good about the team that I thought was great progress, and the type of progress you need to have as a team. And then we need to find a way ultimately to just close it out. That's really what it comes down to.
When it comes to these exit interviews, are you learning things about the players that you didn't know before, or is it you sending them home with messages for what to do over the summer? What's the process that these are all about?
I don't think I'm necessarily learning much about the individuals. I think a lot of that happens throughout the season and the different meetings and interactions you have with players. You try, my approach at least, is you try to learn from them, their perspective on what happened. Sometimes when the season's over, you'll get even more truth. Now, with that said, I believe that we had great and open discussions, whether it was individually or through our leadership meetings that we have throughout the season. I believe there's great trust there, and that our interactions are productive. But when the season's over, it's different. You have a different perspective, and maybe you can learn more. You have discussions with some of the players that are newer, such as Mark Giordano as an example, that comes in and has been other places. What can you learn about that? About his perspective on our team and how we do things. So you're trying to glean that type of information and get a sense of where the group is at. And then most importantly, set the players up for their off-season of some things to be focusing on, but it's very surface level stuff at this point, and then we'll dig into it further and communicate further as the off-season moves along.
Justin?
Hey Sheldon, you sent out a lot of different looks with John Tavares as the centerpiece on that second line throughout the playoffs and the regular season as well. When you strategize and look forward and think about what the organization needs to do to optimize the final 3 years of his contract, what would be the ideal surroundings, do you think, for him on that second line and in moving forward here?
Well, I mean, there's a couple things inside that, obviously with John himself, and I think at times this season played tremendously well, and I thought certainly in the back half of our series in Tampa, against Tampa, really came on for us, scored some big goals, was big in key moments, and you know, no matter who his line mates were, was able to adjust, and I think that has been a bit of a calling card for John through his career, is to adjust and play with different people. In terms of how it shakes out, you know, we'll continue to look at that, but obviously, you know, he's paired well with William Nylander, you know, throughout his time here, and certainly in the last couple seasons. At times, I've chosen to separate and split it up for not just reasons related to John or William, but for our entire team. So we'll continue to look at those kind of things and make those decisions, but those are not things that are not decisions or discussions we're having at this point. We've got an off season to do that and find the ultimate, you know, the ultimate decision there, which as I've said, the ability to be flexible on it, I think, is important. And then in addition to that, we also don't know, you know, what the final roster will look like.
Steve, down in front here.
Sheldon, about 8 or 9 of your players had career years, the best they've ever played, the best they've ever produced. How difficult is it to take that group, assuming they're all together, and go to another level when they've gone to a level now that they've never been at before?
Well, Steve, I think a big part of that for me, again, goes back to how, you know, we you know, I was asked a question earlier about what needs to change going into next season. I think there's the foundation that we thought was strong a season ago is even stronger now. Players have even greater confidence and belief in themselves, and then also, you know, what comes with that is greater belief in each other. I think that we had career years. We also set, you know, franchise records and competed in a very tough division through the regular season to put ourselves in a position to succeed in the playoffs. We believe each individual player, as we get to know them, and as whether they're maturing and moving into their prime, or they're players that are getting older and adjusting their games, their style of play, whatever it might be, that we get to know our players better. We can help and assist them to get to where we need to get to. But it's also just all the more reason for us to believe in the group that confidence is such a tremendous thing for any player, no matter where you're at in your career. And we have a lot of confident people, not only in their own game and where they're at and what they accomplished this season, but in our team. And again, that's why this one feels different coming out of this loss. And then at the same time, it also stings that much more because we had so many things that were moving in the right direction for us as a team. So to not be able to play on is tough to take because there was that belief there with our group. But that hasn't gone away, and we'll continue to get to work this off season and you know, be ready for an opportunity for us to see if we can build upon that. We believe we can.
Mark?
Sheldon, how did you feel about the power play in the series? Was there anything holding it back from being the difference maker it was in the regular season for you guys?
Well, with the power play, like a lot of other areas of our game, you know, the expectations for the power play, I think, grew because we established it as an elite power play, number one in the NHL over the course of the season. And then, you know, so that in itself is another area of our game that grew from from the season prior. So you go into it and you have hopes or expectations that the power play is going to be the threat that it was. So having it not be at that level is disappointing and thus makes it as something we'll continue to look at. Obviously, the opponent has a say in it, and both in their structure and the unit they put together, how they play against you, and then the goaltender ultimately. But there's some process-related things in there that we'll continue to look at. We're certainly not content with where we were, even in the regular season, and certainly in the playoffs, we needed to be better.
Lance?
Most of us consider you and Kyle to be joined at the hip in many ways, but what do you think the first round exits over the past few years, what strain has that put on the relationship, do you think?
I don't think it's put any strain on the relationship necessarily. Obviously, we continue to push and challenge each other. That's been the foundation of our relationship from our early days working together in Sault Ste. Marie, is how we can push and challenge one another and have open discussions and be as honest as you can be, and without fear of anything else getting in the way or distracting us from what we need to do, which is to find a way to get our team to play better and find our way through these moments.
And you, 115 points, of course, but do you feel you left some on the table and ultimately that affected the first round matchup? Is that something next year that you look to take more full advantage of when you look at the matchup that Florida got, for example?
Certainly, we talked about this through the regular season, that I felt that was something that was important to us, to recognize the value in that. It is, in theory, it is easy to do and focus on in practice through the course of an 82-game season and the demands of an NHL schedule. You're going to have games that you're not at your best. We need to find a way to be more consistent in that sense. Now, we were consistent in a lot of other ways, which was the reason why we were where we were in the standings, and ultimately had home ice. But without a question, we left points on the table there, and that's an area for us as we look at things through the regular season. There's not a lot to pull out of that where we would say, we could be better in this area or that. Certainly our start to the season would be one. And then, those games that you're referring to where we left points on the table would be another. Of course, what I loved about the season is how we performed against the top teams in our league, and our performance in those games ultimately was really the big reason why we were where we were, and winning those head-to-head matches that we had a lot, certainly inside our division, gave us a good chance there. But definitely, as we look back on the regular season, those points left behind bothered us at the time, and certainly continue to.
Mike?
I'm just curious, how do you make sure that the message next year doesn't get stale after, it's like year after year of the same results?
Well, that's my challenge as a coach, and it's something that I think about a lot. I think the first thing is we have great coaches around me. The coaching staff we had this season, to me, I felt certainly in my time here, we've had great coaches, but this year was the most cohesive group that we had in terms of really being able to use the different voices to work with our team. We've got coaches coming in from different organizations here now. Obviously, Dean Chanel's been around the league for a long time in various roles in various organizations, and Spencer Carberry's been a head coach in the American Hockey League and worked in both Washington and Boston organizations at the same time. And Manny Malhotra's been in the NHL for a very long time as both a player and a coach here now. So having those guys to lean on was, first of all, a big thing for me. And there was a lot of times, even this season, where I wanted them to have a bigger voice, to share and spread our message. But I think the biggest thing for me is just to continue to have strong relationships with our players and trust in what we're doing. And in the early going here at the exit meetings, that's been very positive in terms of the feedback that we're getting and the belief that they have in what we're doing. So that's really it. And, you know, the message is not necessarily the same, certainly won't be the same, because I think our team is evolving, and we are getting closer to where we need to be. We made tremendous strides this season individually and collectively. So, you know, I'll continue to look at different ways that we need to get better. And we'll work at that as a coaching staff. And the biggest thing is our players know we're close, but they know we're not there. So we have an audience that is very willing to change and adapt and continue to push themselves. In this case, controlling all that they can control, which is to have a tremendous offseason.